Hello, 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 and welcome back to another edition of Fan Talk, your favorite podcast by your favorite fan. That is, of course, me, Kyle Brunchley, aka K Brunch, in a closet on this Friday. As you can tell, I am not in my usual spot, and I won't be for the foreseeable future. Now, this closet won't be the new spot either. This is just temporary. This is just for this week. I recently have moved places and I'm working on getting my setup set up. So for this week, we are hanging out in a closet with some vintage CDs and some poor lighting, but we're going to have a great time here on the Fan Talk podcast. If you are new here, welcome. Welcome to Fan Talk. Is a podcast you can get anywhere you get your podcasts. I also upload on YouTube because I like the video aspect of it. Spotify also has video versions as well if you use Spotify, but on Apple, Amazon, again, anywhere you get your podcast. No poster, no candle, no nothing to shout out. I could give you the weather report, but it doesn't really matter because we're in a closet. But it's April. It's wild how quick time flies. But also at the same time, I feel like it's been 100 years since January. January felt like it was 1997, and I wasn't even alive in 1997. That's how far ago it felt. Regardless, here we are, and guys, thank you guys for joining here on Fan Talk. Please leave a like, share with a friend, leave a comment, whatever you like to do. I appreciate the support. We are going to be talking college basketball, of course. We're talking college basketball. We're going to put a little bow and wrap things up. Of course, the Final Four is set. We'll break down how we got here. We'll look at our brackets. How are your brackets doing? Most of mine haven't done that well. There's a few that are kind of hanging on just because I have Florida or Auburn or Duke still in the mix, but none are really going to win anything substantial. So we'll take a look at that. We'll even take a look on the women's side. I actually have a bracket that's doing really well on the women's side. I always tend to have one that does, fairly well. I don't know why. I don't watch a ton of women's college basketball, but I just think there's not as many upsets. But we'll get into that in just a minute. And then, we'll look forward to NBA and NHL playoffs. Major League Baseball has started. A little segment on that earlier. That and much more here on Fan Talk. Thank you guys so much for relaxing with me on this Friday, April 4th. Let me know if you guys had any April Fool's jokes that were played on you or that you played. I'm not really a jokester in that regard. I don't really tell jokes. I don't really do pranks. It's not really my thing. But let me know if you guys have had some good ones done to you or that you pulled yourself. All right, guys, let me share my screen with you and we'll talk. Let's take a look at here, I'll show you. I'll show you my men's side bracket here. So I made 13 brackets. And again, I think this is too many. I think there's got to be a fine balance between making just one bracket and rolling with it and you can make up to 25 here on ESPN, making 13. I think my sweet spot is 3, maybe 4. 3 maybe serious ones and then a funny one. But I made 13. Obviously, some are going to do better than others. This one's the best one I have. I'm still ranked 4 millionth in the world. I have Florida winning. Of course, if Florida goes on to win, I'll get more points. But the group I'm in 105th place, and I can't really make up any ground on that. I can't win the money in this league. This is the league that I won 3 years ago in the inaugural season, but can't really do that. Michigan State's out in this one. Obviously, Maryland, that was kind of a crapshoot bracket, but still live in this one, still live in that one. But again, probably not going to win anything substantial, if anything at all. And then, of course, here's my silly brackets, Boomer, Sooner. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my men's side. I did make a second chance. I don't know if you guys do this, but I don't really like doing this. But I figured I love playing fantasy sports. I might as well do this. The second chance brackets. This is always just so depressing because it's like, oh, your bracket's down the drain. Let's go make another one. So, I'm still alive in all 3, obviously, because, the number 1 seeds have all made it to the Final Four for the first time since 2008, I believe. So pretty wild. We'll talk about that in just a second, but this one's still alive. I believe I have all the picks correct, except for I did pick Texas Tech to go to the Final Four. Other than that, everything else looks pretty good on my end. So yeah, if your bracket's busted, please leave a like down below and we'll cry together. But let me show you my women's side real quick before we get into an analysis of the tournament. I've watched pretty much every single game. There was a few games I missed here and there, but let's look at the women's side real quick. This is the bracket I'm doing really well in. This one where I have UCLA winning. I'm like 100K in the entire world. Now, of course, they make a lot less brackets on the women's side than on the men's side, but Let's take a look. I missed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I missed 8. I've missed 8 picks, and a lot of them happened in the earlier rounds where their points are a lot less. But I correctly predict the Final Four. It's going to be an awesome Final Four on the women's side, too. The games are actually tonight, Friday, April 4th tonight. South Carolina versus Texas, UCLA versus UConn. Go watch those. According to this bracket, I have South Carolina versus UCLA in the final with UCLA winning. But Texas is playing really good this year. Watch out for them. UConn's playing hot behind Paige Beckers, obviously taking out number 1 USC. So, yeah, just keep an eye on that. Final Four, women's side, tonight. All right, let's go back to the men's side and take a look at the bracket. I don't know if there's one word I can use to describe this tournament. It's been very chalk. And for you dummies out there, chalk means just that the better team wins. So, for example, the 1 seed beats the 16 seed. Chalk. You just pick the team that's favored to win in every single matchup. So I feel like there's been a lot of chalk in this tournament. Obviously, there's been a few 8-9 upsets, right? We saw that with Baylor. We saw that with Creighton. There's been a few 6-3 upsets. We saw that with Ole Miss and BYU both making a run to the Sweet 16. And then we had, a handful with McNeese State as a 12 seed upsetting Clemson. Drake is an 11, taking out 6, Missouri, and then Arkansas having a run to the Sweet 16 as well. So, there's been a few upsets here and there. There hasn't been a ton. Obviously wasn't any earth-shattering 16, 15, 14 seeds that won. But still, I think it's been a fantastic tournament. There's been some awesome games. If you just sit down and watch any of these games, you'll just be entertained to the max. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I said, and they were kind of unfamiliar with, I guess, the scheduling. They knew about March Madness and college basketball, but they were unfamiliar with, the opening days, that Thursday and Friday being games from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., like 12 hours long. And I was saying how I had Thursday off of work just randomly, and I was like, I literally watched every game from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., and it was the most therapeutic, good for my mental health thing that could have been going on in my life right now. So, obviously we don't have 12 hours all the time, but that's why I think it makes it so special, is because this tournament, is really condensed within 3 weeks. Really, it's the Final Four is going to be played tomorrow, the 5th, and then the championship will be April 7th. And so, the games start March 20th. So really, it's a span. It's like less than 3 weeks. It's like a 17-day span, 18-day span. But my thoughts so far on the tournament, I've been really impressed with Duke, and that might sound like an understatement. That might sound like naivety, but I honestly didn't watch a lot of Duke this year just because the ACC kind of was a little weaker this year. The conference, the ACC, didn't have as many good teams this year, and so I don't know. They just weren't on my radar. They just weren't on television. I just wasn't tuning in to them as much, but I am very impressed with Duke. I like what I see from them. I think that at this point, they are my pick to win the entire tournament with Cooper Flagg. And then, he does his one and done season, goes to the NBA. Very impressed with Duke. They obliterated an Alabama team, held Alabama to 65 points. This is an Alabama team that was scoring 80, 90, sometimes even 100. They hung up, 113 on BYU. So this is a team that could score, a team that could dominate, and Duke just shut them down, held them to 65 points. I don't know if it's a season low, but it's up there, or it's down there, I guess, for sure. Auburn's really impressed me. They've had a couple of close scares. Michigan played them very well until the end. Michigan State played them pretty well. So, but I'm impressed. I'm impressed with Auburn, Bruce Pearl's team. I wouldn't be surprised if Auburn took out Florida. But Florida, this is a fun team to watch. They survive UConn. They come back against UConn. I think they were down 6 points to UConn. They come back and win. They take care of Maryland. They're down against Texas Tech double digits. I think they were down 10 or 11 points. They come back and win. Clayton hits a couple of 3-pointers. And this is like the most church ball, junior jazz, rec league thing I've ever seen. They get the rebound. He gets the rebound, in the paint. And then he dribbles out to the 3-point line. He's not even looking at the basket, just turns around and shoots it. He does that twice and hits both of them. And you're just like, the man is crazy, but it's working out for him. That was an insane game. Florida, Texas Tech. I think that's one of my top 3 or top 5 favorite games of the tournament so far. If I were to put a number on it, I'd say that one. I'd say that Texas Tech Arkansas game also as well in the Sweet 16. Texas Tech had some really good showings in the games. I was really impressed with them. Honestly, without that incredible performance by Florida, Texas Tech would be in the Final Four and would be a very dangerous team to watch out for. And I feel bad. I think Houston kind of flew under the radar for a lot of people this year. They were number 1 seed team again. They won the Big 12. They just absolutely dominated. But of these 4 number 1 seeds, I think they were just talked about the least. I mean, of course, everyone talking about Duke and Cooper Flag. Everyone talking about Auburn and the program being turned around and being the number 1 overall seed. Everyone talking about Florida only losing 4 games. And then there's Houston, right? Houston, I think, overlooked. They absolutely destroyed in their first round game against a 16 seed, understandable. They took care of business against Gonzaga. Gonzaga gave them a scare. Purdue gave them a scare, but they were gritty and they got the win. They absolutely just obliterated a Tennessee team. So it should be fun. Houston versus Duke. I do think Duke gets past them, but Houston, scrappy team, very good team. Watch out for them. Auburn as well, Florida, Duke. It should be a great Final Four. Again, this is the first time since 2008 that all 4 teams in the Final Four were number 1 seeds. And that's in theory, and this is where maybe if you're not familiar with college basketball, you're like, that makes sense. And it does. In theory, that's kind of the anticipated way it will go every year, is that the 1 seeds will get there to the Final Four, right? But of course, there's upsets and surprises and Cinderella teams. And this year, there just wasn't too many of those. He had an Arkansas team that had a great run to the Sweet 16, but then ran into a very hot Texas Tech team, right? So, and you had an Ole Miss team, same thing, that ran into a very good Michigan State team led by Tommy March Izzo, right? So if you go back and look at previous tournaments, there were a lot more upsets, a lot less upsets this time around. But that doesn't make it less exciting. That doesn't make it less entertaining. That doesn't make it less fun, right? It's been a great tournament. It's been everything that we expected. My brother Ryan, remember, he came on the show a couple weeks ago, and it kind of seemed that there was this small collective group of teams that could legitimately win the tournament. And within that group, Florida, Auburn, Houston, and Duke were all included. And he mentioned these KenPom ratings. And I mean, simply put, these ratings just rate every team on how good they are offensively, how good they are defensively, their strength of schedule, which means how many good teams they played versus, how many mid teams, right? And their record and whatnot. So obviously this has been updated since the tournament started, since we did that video with my brother. But if you can see, Duke, Houston, Florida, Auburn, they're all top 4, which means, if you were to look at this ratings before you picked your picks in the tournament, you could be like, okay, a team that's going to win the tournament is probably going to be in the top 10. And that's pretty true. That's pretty true. I mean, Tennessee's there, Alabama's there, Michigan State was there, Texas Tech, Maryland. All these teams, I think, minus Gonzaga, and Gonzaga obviously ran into a good Houston team. All these teams were in the Sweet 16, and a lot of them were in the Elite 8 as well. I mean, it's just, upsets do happen. It's not totally unimaginable that the best teams are going to get to the Final Four. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? We had that crazy Final Four, I think it was 2 years ago, where there wasn't a single 1 seed, and that was an anomaly. That is not, usually a 1 seed gets in, at least 1, usually 2, sometimes 3. And in this very rare case, all 4 made it to the Final Four. So again, it should be super, super fun. I know this weekend there's a lot going on with the weather warming up and whatnot, but tomorrow, Auburn, Florida, an SEC matchup should be amazing. Duke, Houston as well tomorrow. Let me know what you guys think down below. Who's going to win? Who's your picks for the national champion? Did you get the Final Four correct? Let me know down below. Real quick before I send you off today, let's talk NBA and let's NHL as well. We're getting down to the very end of the season in both of those leagues. And if you were to look here at the NBA, sorry, I think I said NFL. I meant to say NBA and NHL. So if you look here at the NBA, the bracket's pretty much set. I think there's only 6 games left. So there's some volatility here with 7 through 10 here in the Eastern Conference. I will do a video explaining the NBA playoff format and all that later on. So if you're a little lost right now, don't worry, dummies. We will get to that. But essentially, 10 teams get into the playoffs, 6 teams get an automatic bye, and then 7, 8, 9, 10 have to play each other in a little mini tournament. And again, I'll get to that. The Eastern Conference looks pretty set. I think 7 through 10, there's some movement there that could happen. Western Conference, theoretically, 3 through 10 haven't claimed. There's a little more room for teams to sneak in. As you can see, the Spurs, Trailblazers, and Suns are currently out because they're below this line, but potentially have a chance to get in. Jazz, of course, tanking for Cooper Flag. Terrible. Worst record in franchise history. Again, we'll do a video closer, maybe in a couple of weeks, talking about the NBA play-in tournament and the NBA postseason and different things like that. And I'll break it down for you. Same with the NHL. Let's take a look over at the NHL. And let me just say, it's been a fantastic year of hockey for the state of Utah. Utah is probably not going to make the playoffs. They lost last night to the LA Kings, and that was a game they really needed to win. As you can see here, there are 2 wild card spots. So 3 teams from this division get in, 3 teams from this division, and then 2 extra spots. And again, I'll explain this later. Utah Hockey Club is currently 9 points behind the Minnesota Wild. And when you win a game in hockey, you're awarded 2 points. So essentially they are 8 games behind the Minnesota Wild. So their window is very, very small. Any day now, probably one more result, and they're out of the running. Same with the Vancouver Canucks. That's the team I support. But again, I'll break this down a little bit more in depth in a later video and talk about the postseason. It's just a great time of year. I know I say this all the time, but it is just so true. NBA playoffs coming, NHL playoffs coming. The MLB season has started. Final 4 action for women's. They play tonight, and men's play tomorrow with the national championship on Monday. Should be great. Go enjoy your weekend, and thank you guys so much for joining me here on Fan Talk. Again, this is a podcast that you can find anywhere you get your podcast. Please leave a like, share with a friend, leave a comment, whatever you guys want to do. It is cool with me. All right, guys, I'll see you guys next week for another edition of Fan.